Hey, welcome back to the Woodworking Garage. Today we're going to pick the best pocket hole jig for 2021, so stick around. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to identify the best pocket hole jig for 2021. Now, over the last couple months, I've had the pleasure of reviewing a number of pocket hole jigs here on this channel. I've reviewed the Kreg 720 Pro. I've reviewed the Armor Auto-Jig, the Massca M2, the Win pocket hole jig, and the Joy Tube. Now, before we identify the best pocket hole jig, let's do a real quick review. For this, we're considering price, durability, functionality, and user input. Okay, if you didn't get a chance to see my reviews on these pocket hole jigs, I'll put links in the description below so you can go check out them individually. And before I get started, I just wanted to note that for this review, we're not considering the Kreg K4, K5, or the Porter cable pocket hole jigs because those models have been discontinued and will soon no longer be available to purchase. To get started, we're going to talk about price. The Kreg 720 Pro comes in at $149 for the Pro version, or $139 for the 720. The only difference between the two models is that the 720 Pro has the plastic storage box extension wings that also acts as material support. The Armor Auto-Jig comes in at $130 for the base model, but they have several different packages in which you can get screws, or you can get them with screws and clamps, or only clamps, and so they have several different packages to choose from. The Massca pocket hole jig comes in two models. They have an older version which is called the M1, and this is the M2, which comes with the metal extension bars, material support, and stop block system. Massca also sells their pocket hole jig in packages that come with screws and or clamps at various price points. The base model M1 can be found for $79. The M2 with these metal supports is currently $99. For more budget-friendly pocket hole jig, you have the Win pocket hole jig, and it only comes in the base model, and you can pick that up for $55. And a comparable model, which is pretty much identical, probably from the same manufacturing company, this is the Joy Tube, and it also comes in at $55. Next, let's talk about durability. You've seen the reviews and concerns that I have, and probably other YouTubers, that there are some durability issues with the new Kreg 720 Pro and 720 systems. The plastic that was used in this pocket hole jig is much thinner than what they used in the K4, K5 systems. Overall, it just feels much cheaper. Some of the components on this system are rather flimsy, especially the 720 Pro model with its extension wings and plastic hinges. The drill block does not have metallic inserts that go all the way through. It's only in the hole opening up here. So overall, there's just some durability questions about this jig. Moving on to the Armor Tool Auto-Jig. This jig is much heavier duty plastic. Nonetheless, it's still a plastic jig, but it's rather heavy duty. There's no concern about this jig falling apart or breaking. The clamping mechanism seems to be pretty robust. The drill block system is metallic all the way through, from the holes to where the drill exits on the back side. It's very durable. Having used this a little bit, but I haven't seen any concerns over durability. Probably the most robust of all the jigs we have to consider today, the Massca M1 and M2 version. This thing is pretty much all metal. There is no concern at all about durability, about what happens if you were to drop this thing. The only things on it that are plastic is the little piece here on the handle and the dust port. Everything else is all metal on this thing, so no concern at all over durability and how this thing operates. This thing's going to last you a long time. Moving on to our budget-friendly pocket hole jigs, Win. This is also an all-metal jig with the exception of the handle and the knob here on the back that you loosen and tighten in order to adjust your drill block. Other than that, it's a hard, heavy-duty aluminum. No concern about durability. The clamping mechanism seems to be good. So in durability, they're all about the same here. Same thing with the joy tube. Of course, all aluminum except for the handle and the knob in the back. Clamping mechanism works fine. It all seems to be very durable. Now let's talk about functionality. This is where all these jigs are different. They each have their own unique functionality. Let's first talk about the Kreg 720 Pro. It's a very unique design. It's got the auto clamp feature, the auto adjusting clamp feature here that automatically adjusts to your material thickness, which is probably the best feature on this jig. Of course, you know that this jig also has the ability to be turned on its end to allow for sheet goods to be more easily slid into place and clamped and pocket drilled. It has these built-in support wings, small support wings, but then of course on the 720 Pro you have the material support wings that come off to the side that include storage, which is another big functionality of this jig. It comes with a storage if you have the 720 Pro, which is pretty nice. The overall result is that you will still get pocket holes in your workpiece. Next, I'll just jump over to the armor. The armor also has some very unique functionality that is unlike the rest. It has the auto adjusting clamp feature, so when you clamp down on your workpiece, the drill guide block here automatically adjusts according to the thickness. In addition to that, it can also automatically adjust the stop collar on your drill bit. So as you manipulate the clamping mechanism, the collar slides along the drill bit, so the drill bit will be set at the correct depth in order for you to make accurate pocket holes into the workpiece that you have clamped down into the jig. It's a great feature, especially for newer woodworkers who may be confused about setting their stop collar and getting their drill bit set up, combined with the uniqueness of a color-coded system where they have also color-coded screws according to the size that you need for the workpiece that you're working with, and of course the clamping mechanism that it auto adjusts and that you can clamp it down tightly. This jig has several unique features that the other jigs do not have. The Massca M2, the unique feature is that it has an all-metal design and that it has the metal support, material support bars, as well as these support bars can be flipped and turned around and used as stop blocks. Another unique feature is that if you remove the 4 screws on the bottom and take off this entire carriage, you can take the whole drill block and this carriage to your workpiece, and then at that point you can clamp it down and you can still make the adjustment on your workpiece according to the thickness so that your pocket holes are in the right position. Overall, some unique functionality with this jig as compared to the other jigs. With the Wen, its very unique functionality is that you have the ability to loosen up and adjust your drill block. You can adjust the width of the holes on your drill block. So if you need holes that are close together, you can squeeze these together, tighten it down, and you can have 2 holes that are really close on your workpiece. Or maybe if you're working on a wider workpiece and you want your holes further apart, you can move them further apart and then tighten it down before making your pocket holes. That's the only unique feature about this jig, other than the fact that it's an all aluminum jig. And the joy tube functions the same way, in which you can loosen the knob and adjust your holes according to the width that you need them and tighten it back down. And I will note that these appear to be made by the same manufacturer, because everything, all the specs and everything about these 2 jigs appear to be the same. So what is the best pocket hole jig for 2021? Well, first, before I announce that, let me just say that how I use the jig in my shop may be different than how you use the jig in yours. The functionalities that we just went over, that you may prefer one functionality on one jig over the functionality that I prefer on my jig. But as mentioned, overall I considered price, durability, and functionality and what works best for me in my shop. So because of that, I'm going to have my recommendation on the best pocket hole jig, and then I'm going to share with you the user input that I received when I conducted a poll online and had over 500 responses from users what pocket hole jig they like the best. So my personal biased recommendation is I prefer the Armor Auto-Jig. The uniqueness and durability and pricing of this jig is just far superior than the other jigs that we reviewed on this channel. With its unique auto clamping feature and auto adjusting guide block, with its auto adjusting drill bit, makes this a perfect jig for brand new woodworkers as well as experienced woodworkers. In my opinion, overall, it's just a superior jig, and it's a jig that's going to remain in my shop for a very long time. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with my pick for the 2021 best pocket hole jig. Now before you go, let's talk about what our users chose as the best pocket hole jig for 2021. Okay, at the time of this video, we had 496 responses, and of those, 53% chose the Armor Auto-Jig. 53% of respondents chose the Auto Armor Jig as the #1 pocket hole jig for 2021. Coming in second was the Kreg 720 Pro at 25% responded. And in a close third, the Massca M2 came in at 23% of the vote. The Wind Pocket Hole Jig and the Joy Tube Pocket Hole Jig were not included in this poll because they are considered very budget friendly. The Wind Pocket Hole Jig and the Wind Pocket Hole Jig and the Joy Tube Pocket Hole Jig were not included in this poll because they were considered to be a very low budget pocket hole jig system. So when we conducted the poll, we conducted it with the top 3 pocket hole jigs available on the market today for sale. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video and all the other videos in which I reviewed the pocket hole jig system. I want to say thank you to Armor Tool Company for sending me a jig for free to review. As noted in the other video when I reviewed the Auto Armor Jig, I did not purchase this one with my own money. They sent it to me for free, not knowing if I was going to like the jig and what I would say about it. My tool reviews are not sponsored. My videos nor my channel are sponsored. Additionally, I want to thank Massca Tool Company for sending me this great jig for free so that I could also do a test and review of their jig, not knowing if I was going to like it or not. I respect that of these two companies and it's very much appreciated. The Kreg Pocket Hole Jig I purchased with my own money and I sent it back. This one is on loan for the purpose of this video and it's going back. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All my tool reviews are completely honest and unbiased. I tell you what I like and what I dislike about a product. I leave it up to you to decide if it's something that you want to purchase or not. If you're interested in purchasing any of these jigs here today, there will be affiliate links in the description below where you can go and check out current availability and pricing. And before you go, I'm going to go ahead and throw up a couple more videos right here I think you might enjoy. It's videos that I released recently and that you may have an interest in. So if you click on any of those, I'll go ahead and see you on the other side. I appreciate your support, appreciate you being here, and I'll see you again real soon.